Every single story has a villain or main antagonist. Whether that be a physical other person or an internal conflict, every single story has some sort of problem that can be characterized as an antagonist. And for obvious reasons, Murder Drones is absolutely no exception to this. If you've watched the series, you know that the main villain of the entire show is Sin, or the Absolute Solver, whichever one you want to call it. However, this wasn't always true. In fact, we only really were introduced to the Absolute Solver in episode 5. There were other antagonists before this. In episode 1, it was just the disassembly drones in general. In episode 2, it was Eldritch J, and in episode 3, it was Doll. Now, Doll was a very interesting character which many people really connected with. She had a motive, which was her parents being killed by the disassembly drone V. However, in kind of a weird way, Doll kind of revealed at the end of episode 3 that she had a larger motive, which was curing the solver from her system. However, as you probably know, she wasn't really used that much in the show. In episodes 4 and 5, she was barely used. In episode 6, she didn't even get any lines of dialogue, and in episode 7, she was killed off very abruptly. A lot of people were very disappointed, including me, and so here I stand telling you in a random video you saw online why Doll should have been the villain instead of Sin / the Absolute Solver. First, let's talk about motive. Now, a lot of villains, especially if they are actual people, have motives, the reasons why they're doing the stuff they are doing, and the reasons why they are trying to hurt the main protagonist of the story. Sin's motives were basically unknown. It was originally thought that she was just trying to get revenge for the worker drones, but then started to harm the worker drones themselves. There have been plenty of theories talking about whether she was just trying to destroy the whole universe so she can rebuild it in her image, or if it was just because she likes playing around, or anything else I haven't really mentioned. Now, it's okay to have villains or antagonists' intentions unknown. I know plenty of examples of villains having unknown intentions and still being great characters in the story. The way they did Sin or the Absolute Solver's intentions was decent. It wasn't the best, and I still would have gotten some sort of clear answer. Or maybe I'm missing something, I don't know. However, Doll's motives were very clearly said, or at least implied. The first one was to get you, the viewer, to subscribe to AY Cosmic. Come on, we're almost at 10k, I know we can do it, let's go. Her actual intentions, besides me plugging the idea for you to subscribe to my channel, was to avenge her dead parents by killing the disassembly drone V. It was very clearly said, not exactly said out loud, but heavily implied, whether that be a short flashback, and you using your basic common sense, I hope you have, to connect the two dots you only really need to connect. There is also the second motivation, which is to cure herself from the Absolute Solver, as she thinks that the Absolute Solver has a chance to take her over and destroy the entire planet, which she obviously doesn't want. This would create an interesting dynamic between Doll and the actual audience, considering the fact that her motives are something that you would probably also fight for, that being avenging your parents if they were to die, and also curing yourself from some sort of sickness that could literally kill you or get all of your other friends killed. Now, don't get me wrong, Sin absolutely does way better when it comes to horror or being on screen or something like that. I mean, every single time she's on screen and does something horrifying or related to some sort of horror, it's absolute cinema. I also have to acknowledge that if Sin were to be the main antagonist of Murder Drones, the entire show itself probably wouldn't have been as close to horror than it is now. Another reason why Doll should have been the main antagonist for Murder Drones is that of the power scaling. A huge criticism I have about episode 8 or the finale for Murder Drones is that Uzi is just able to do tons of things with the Absolute Solver abilities, such as creating black holes, or just resisting Sin taking over her body. However, despite these suddenly found new abilities that Uzi can do, I feel like the main crew couldn't have been able to defeat Sin. Sin was set up as this planet-destroying monster, something that would be practically a god, that was hinted with, you know, her whole god complex, but also just with the show giving us hints that she literally destroyed Earth and the entire human race. So to see her basically so easily defeated in the finale of the show, it kind of leaves a bad taste in my mouth. Doll, on the other hand, would have been an actual realistic opponent, basically at the same level of Uzi, or at least a level that Uzi could match, at least in the time span of 8 episodes. She would have made a great antagonist for Uzi to slowly rise up, challenge, and then eventually overcome and defeat. Doll would have also been a great villain because of the parallels she has with Uzi. Between Sin and Uzi, I don't really find many similarities besides them both having Solver abilities, which feels like a stretch and also just feels wrong, considering the fact that Uzi wouldn't have solver abilities without the absolute solver, for obvious reasons. I mean, not even their physical appearance look anything like each other. Sin has long hair, Uzi has short hair, they have completely different hair colors. Also, Sin's posture is just absolutely horrible, just gotta say that. Also, I'd never see Uzi ripping a skin off of a 14-year-old girl's body, so can't really say I've found a lot of similarities between them. However, between Doll and Uzi, it's much different. Both Doll and Uzi's moms were probably actually friends before the whole core collapse and, you know, Copper 9 implodes or whatever. Now, the differences between them is that Doll lost both of her parents, where only Uzi lost one. But then didn't. You know what? Whatever, that's a different video. Uzi was able to grow up with her dad doing all the stuff that robot dads do, whether that be filing taxes, which would be crazy in a bunker hiding away from murderous robots, but also being able to be, you know, enrolled in school and helped out with homework probably, or anything like that, even though he's said to be a deadbeat dad. Doll, on the other hand, didn't have any parents to really take care of her. She had to learn how to do everything herself. Probably. I actually don't know. We don't really know when exactly her parents died. I won't name every single similarity that Doll and Uzi have in their character, because that would make this video really long and I don't feel like editing that much. Doll is basically the shadow of Uzi, what she could have been if certain circumstances were changed. With all this being said, Doll would have made a very good villain for Murder Drones. If it had 2 seasons. If Doll was literally the only antagonist, that would have been kind of annoying. The show would have gone a completely different direction, and Sin as a character would have been scrapped, which I would be pretty mad about. Doll would have been only really a good antagonist if she was only the main antagonist for the first season out of 2, with Sin being the main antagonist for the second season, you know, raising the stakes or whatever. But, you know, I want Doll to be the main antagonist for multiple reasons, not just because that would give us a season 2. For the love of God, please give us a season 2 of Murder Drone. And that's pretty much all I really need to say. If you think I was completely wrong, or you think someone else should be the antagonist, like, I don't know, Brayden, or interesting enough, Jay, which actually would be kind of an interesting video, let me know in the comments. Stay tuned, and I'll see you next time.